Hello, everybody, and welcome to Friends of the Force, a Star Wars podcast. I am your host, Brad Whipple. Welcome to our series, From a Certain Point of View, in which we interview the people who love to create within the Star Wars universe and Star Wars fandom. On today's show, our guest does a lot of character collages that you've probably seen on Instagram. She also has a fanzine called Into a Larger World. It is Kara DJ. She has made such a positive influence on the Star Wars community with many of her creations. So I'm very excited to talk with her today about her craft, how she got into it, and what Star Wars means to her. So without further ado, let's jump right over to my interview with Kara DJ.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
A certain point of view?
Luke, you're going to find that many of the truths we cling to depend greatly on our own point of view.
I'm so excited today to welcome onto the show. It's been a while since I've wanted to get her on the show. Very pleased to welcome Kara DJ. She is the creator of the Into a Larger World Star Wars zine. Kara, welcome to Friends of the Force, finally.
Hello, I'm so glad to be here. Wow, thanks. Hi.
You know, I have to say right up top, get the elephant out of the room. So for those of you who might have recently seen, this particular podcast series got an upgrade with some fresh minted official artwork created by Kara. It's just like truly incredible. And I'm like so happy to have you on to talk more about your Star Wars fandom. For those of our listeners who aren't familiar with your work, which I'm sure they probably are, but did you want to give a little bit of an introduction to yourself and kind of what you do in the Star Wars fandom?
Sure. So I think above all, I would call myself a collage artist. I've been doing collage for a long time in different forms. And then I kind of stumbled into zines and then kind of stumbled back into collage. So basically I just work with paper and glue. That's like the easiest way to put it. Everything you ever see from me is all made physically. I have like no Photoshop or tech skills in any way. So everything I do is literally just like cutting stuff out, gluing it to paper, moving the bits of paper around and stuff like that. So yeah, I do character collages of different characters from Star Wars, which has been really fun. And then also I have my zine Into a Larger World, which comes out monthly. And we have contributions from artists or people who just want to talk about something that they like. And then I write some crazy stuff sometimes. I've interviewed a couple people. I like to interview collectors a lot. That's one of my favorite things to do. So that's kind of me, collage artist and zine person. Basically.
The work you do for the Star Wars community, I think, is really well recognized, and it brings a lot of joy to so many people, especially the commissions that you do. We just showed off the Dave Filoni commission you did for me, which was just like incredible when I got it in the mail. Good. I was like in tears. It's so great to support small creators, small relative, I mean, in terms of not necessarily buying stuff from Disney or like, you know, the big companies that you'd think you should get your merchandise from, but really supporting the people who do this for a living, who, you know, this is what they're really passionate about. But what do you feel is like the importance of supporting fan creations, especially, and not just getting all of your like official Lucasfilm merchandise, and really finding those people in these really niche areas, like as a collage artist or a fan artist who's doing prints? Like, what is the importance of that, and why do you feel it really makes the community healthier?
Yeah, it's been one of my favorite parts about like growing this whole thing and like being on Instagram and meeting so many people. I did for this past issue, for the November issue, I sent all my subscribers a gift guide with some advertisements that I got from some small creators that I really love. And it's just like, it's amazing. The stuff that people can create is so unique. And I love, I just love what fans are capable of. And it's kind of like, that's sort of the heart of what fanzines have been since 1977. So it's like, I love being able to celebrate that. Like my other favorite thing is podcasts. I have so many good Star Wars podcasts, such as yours, that I listen to, and and if you like, if you really read the zine, and like if you looked through issues 1 through 18, you would see like I really mentioned like the same 4 or 5 people like over and over because I just
Mhm.
loved them so much. And yeah, it's like fan creators are so fun, and like it's so fun to follow them and then to see what they get inspired by as new things come out and stuff. And yeah, like you said, like, you know, there's always going to be official merchandise, there's always going to be like an overload plethora of things, and we're always going to get it because that's what we do.
Because we're
But it's
shills. At least I
true. I
am.
mean, look, it is what it is, you know. But but yeah, I feel like it's so cool to have those elements in your collection, you know, or just in your life, in your everyday stuff. It's just, yeah, it's really, really fun.
Yeah. The Star Wars community is really nothing without its fans.
Mm,
And I think it has some of the most passionate fans in the whole world and just out of any fandom. So it's crazy to see what kinds of things people can create. And I did see the little pamphlet you included with your
mhm.
last scene with all the different shops on there. Tori's was on there, Creature Cartel, who I host
Yes.
the Armando show with. So it was great to see all those different creators who I've never even heard of before. But is there anything that you've come across in all of your years that has really stuck out to you or made you have like a wow moment of, whoa, fan creations really go hard. Like they go above and beyond. Is there anything that's ever stuck
Oh,
out to you or
I'm
even like an
trying.
idea of sorts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that like the obviously the world of pins is like just absolutely
Crazy.
like bonkers. And like the thing that stands out to me is the brand Nerd Matters. They make those, I think it's Nerd Matters, right? They make those pins where it'll be like a pin and patch set where like the patch uh is one thing and then the pin will go with it and like pair with it. It's the coolest thing. And then they also made a pin which was like a drawing of the picture of George Lucas holding Baby Yoda, which is like one of my favorite things that I own. And and they have the pin, they like partnered with Ahmed Best and made the pin of him like wearing the CGI Jar Jar
Yes.
hat, you know. And they like raised money for a cause through that, and like so that definitely stands out because they just got so weird with it, which is like my favorite thing. I also think of like Super Yaki makes a lot of t-shirts and stuff that are very unique and like always make me laugh. um but yeah, the whole world of pins has really impressed me with what they're capable of, and also how fast they're able to like churn stuff out. Like, you know, by what, January at the latest, we'll have Cobb Vanth pins, we'll have Frog Lady
Oh
pins,
yeah. Oh, don't
and who
tempt me with
knows
the
what's
frog
coming
lady
next.
pen.
Oh yeah, Frog Lady all day.
Have you been to Star Wars Celebration before?
I have. That's kind of the start of my madness, basically. So I I live streamed all of Orlando. I wasn't there, but then I went to Chicago, and I got a ticket. I decided that I wanted to go too late to actually be able to go, so I applied to work there, and
Oh.
yeah, and they said yes and hired me, whatever. I worked in the store, which was a wild experience to say the least. I mean, I have like a lot of retail experience, so it was what I'm used to, but
Mhm.
it was like every day was Christmas Eve, you know? Like it was insane. But anyway, so I went to Chicago, and I found through research and stuff that people traded stuff, which I didn't really realize. So that was why I made my first little pocket-sized zine, was because I wanted to have something to trade at Celebration. So I just like printed 50 of them and just like threw them at people. And then and now here we are. But yeah, so I've been to Chicago and it was incredible, and I can't wait for Anaheim, obviously.
I love that you mentioned that's where the madness begins because for me, before Chicago Celebration, I was like, what's the deal with pins? Why do people love pins? I just don't get it. And then as soon as I got there and I was like, oh, just I guess I'll buy this one mystery pin in the Celebration
Oof.
store. One mystery pin turned into another mystery pin, turned
Yep.
into hunting down the Rose Tico pin and the Mace Windu pin and all the
Oh
pins
yeah,
I could
yeah.
find. And I had like a whole assortment of pins on my lanyard by
It's
the end of the
true.
weekend.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope. I think that's why I haven't really like truly gotten into it, is because I know that I'll just go broke. So I get like I get one or two like every now and then, but I really restrain myself from going too crazy because they're
it's
amazing.
really it's really like the dark side in a way, It's like once you start down that path, forever will it consume your destiny.
Yes, I feel like that and Funko Pops would be the same thing.
Yeah, for me, Funko Pops, the dark side has been a long time companion of mine in that respect. So I want to start too. I know you went to Celebration, but going back even farther to when you first became a Star Wars fan, what were some of your earliest experiences with the franchise? And I always love hearing stories about this because from a certain point of view, everybody comes from a different area of the
It's
Star
true.
Wars fandom, and they enter in a different point in the timeline even.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's hard because like I don't ever remember life without Star Wars. My brother is uh older than me. He's like 15 years older than me, so he was born in 75, so he's like prime, a little younger then, but mostly like prime Star Wars age for like Empire and Return of the Jedi. So he loved it, and my dad really liked it, so they always had it like on in the house and stuff, so I always liked it. But I remember like my first really vivid memory is actually seeing like Attack of the Clones in the theater with my brother, and I like really liked it. And I remember like kind of like I obviously wasn't like looking at reviews at the time at all because I was young, but also because like I didn't really care what other people said. But I remember that like people didn't quote unquote really like it. And I just remember being like, I liked it a lot. And so that's like my first memory. And then my brother and I went to see Revenge of the Sith at midnight when that came out. And I didn't like that one as much, but mostly just because it was so sad. I like it a lot
Yeah.
now, but at the time I was like, that was just so sad. Like I couldn't handle it. So those are my first two earliest memories, would be like those late prequels, but mostly just, yeah, I really liked Attack of the Clones a lot. And I still do, for the record.
I often feel that the Attack of the Clones love is so controversial, but you're right, and you should say it. I
Right?
think the prequels are so good. I've kind of been coming back to this sort of prequel renaissance. I've been buying the making of books. I've been trying to buy the art of
Yes.
books. I want to like dive right into it and find out like every single nook and cranny I can about the prequels. And
Oh, totally.
Attack of the Clones was so interesting, right? Because pre 2000 or like early 2000s was such a nice state of blissful unawareness, no Rotten Tomatoes, no like social media, it was just
Exactly.
like I'm going to go watch this film and make my own opinion and nothing else will
Hmm.
influence it. But I did love Attack of the Clones, and I think it does still stand the test of time even though there are some cringy parts, but that's kind of
Right, but
the essence of the prequels, right? It's sort of this thing you have a dorky love for, and
mhm.
it's not always the best, but that's what makes it great.
Oh yeah, and I'm obsessed with Obi-Wan. Like Attack of the Clones Obi-Wan, I think is like
Hmm. Oh
peak
yeah,
Obi-Wan. He's
long
so
hair,
good.
jumping out windows.
Just like, going on like spy missions and like
Yeah.
going to diners and drinking at bars. Like it doesn't get better than that.
How excited are you for the Obi-Wan TV series?
I I feel like, obviously it's real, it's happening, but I'm not gonna really believe it until we see of a thing, until we see some
Hmm.
type of teaser. It's still going to be like, well, maybe it won't happen. It's like that thing where, because we've been like teased about it for so long, like, is it real, is it rock real, is it going to happen, is it not going to happen, that I'm honestly like, I'm not going to believe it until it's in my eyeballs. But I think there's so many cool things they could do with it. Deborah Chow is so cool and good at what she does. Yeah, it could be really fun. And either way, I mean, it's going to be awesome, but like, yeah, I can't wait to see like what direction they choose to go with it and everything.
You mentioned Obi-Wan's spy missions as part of Attack of the Clones, and I think that would be a great a great episode, at least seeing him go on
Yeah,
some more of those while he's getting in his feels and while he's having nightmares and being pretty emo and sad. I want the
definitely.
sad Obi-Wan dwelling on his mistakes, but
Oh
that's because I
yeah,
Star Wars is tragedy and I love it.
it's true. Yeah, I definitely that'll be great to see. Just having friendship feelings, you know.
So why do you feel for you watching the prequels, which are great? Why do you
Mm.
feel that the Star Wars universe spoke to you? Why it resonated with you, and why did it really capture your imagination among the various things that it kind of presents to the viewer?
Yeah, I think my first reaction to that is I've always been really obsessed with or like entranced by like world building, you know, like I was a fan in middle school of like Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and that stuff. My friends my friends and I were all super into that. And it's just that idea of like that universe that you can kind of play around in, you know? And I'm not really a fan fiction reader or writer, but just that idea, you know, where it's like this universe that you can kind of uh, do whatever you want in. And then I love also like attention to detail and like really stupid little details where it's like that doesn't need to be a thing. Like that little thing doesn't need to have a name, but it has a name. Like that's another one of my favorite things. And Star Wars is obviously just drowning in that. Like you look at a visual dictionary and it's like, why do I need
Yep.
to know what that's called? But I love it so much.
I mean, speaking of which, right, we had From a Certain Point of View at the time of this recording released today. I don't know if you'll be reading
Yes.
that or not, but I'm about halfway through it and it's
Oh, cool.
probably even better than the first one. We just saw the massive dogs return in the Star Wars universe from Attack of the
Right?
Clones and the
Yep.
Mandalorian. Like those little small things, like the world building, right? It's just so good and so rich with stuff that people can
Mm-hmm.
be obsessed with something in the background and make an entire story out of it, or just wait 18 years to see it on screen again and like make all these memes out of it and like all these like stand posts, stand the Tuscan dogs. Everybody loves these sort of niche things, and Star
Yes,
Wars has plenty to offer, right?
totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the coolest thing. And I dream someday of having a full collection of all of the visual dictionaries. I only have like two right now, but like it's my
Hmm.
dream to have all of them so I can just look at them all the time. I love it.
Yeah, they're wonderful. And speaking of just Star Wars and your history of it as well, so you do collages for, and you do your zine as well. It's very Star Wars focused now. I don't think it was Star Wars focused originally when you started doing zines and collages, originally collages, but what first introduced you to the idea of like the zine or like the collage making, and what eventually kind of laid out those stepping stones into Star Wars to kind of combine your passion for this new hobby of yours with this fandom and this saga that you just love unabashedly.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, I've been collaging forever in a lot of different forms as far as like I used to do art journaling. So it would be all like contained in a book. And then I started to do collage kind of on like individual pieces of paper. So it was more like a canvas. So I had been doing that for a while. And then as far as zines go, I honestly didn't have a ton of experience with it since like high school. I think I made a couple when I was in high school, just like messing around because I was in like an art club with all these artsy kids that were like so much cooler than me, and we had like a big zine fest. So we all made a zine for it, and I made some kind of something, I don't know, but I hadn't really made anything since then. And then it was really going to Chicago and wanting to have something that I could trade, but I couldn't make buttons. I can't draw for anything. So I was like, what could I do that would be small so I could carry it around in my fanny pack and like that I could print for pretty cheap. And it just kind of happened that there's this one type of zine that's like pocket size and it's one page. You just fold it, you cut a little thing, and then you fold it this way. and I saw like a YouTube video of somebody making it, and I just kind of went for it for the little one that I passed out at Celebration. Also, I'm like dying to find somebody that I gave it to. That's like one of my dreams. So if you're listening and some weird person gave you a zine at Celebration Chicago, let me know. It's like one of my, I think I gave one to like, I think I said this on Sky Talkers, but I think I gave one to, do you remember the people that were like passing out the Ziploc bags?
Yes.
They like weren't fans. They were like Ziploc workers, but I like gave one to one. Anyway,
You're now
so
sponsored by
after,
Ziploc.
right? I still have some of those, by the way. So they're so good. But then, yeah. So then after I got back from Celebration, I had obviously Celebration like lights you on fire. Emotionally and mentally. That's like one of the side effects of going, for better or worse, I guess. But so I like wanted to keep it going, and I started listening to more podcasts, and I started like following more people, and I just like, I was like, what could I do that could be something? And then I just decided to try making a actual full-size zine. And like, if you look at the first one, it's really weird. Like, it's not weird, but it's very basic, and
Mm-hmm.
it's gotten a lot more in depth since then. But yeah, so then I made the first one. I think I posted about it in the Blast Points Facebook group, the Super Chill group. And I just posted that I had made it, like if anybody wanted it. And I think I sent it to like, I don't know, 10 people. And then it just kind of spiraled from there. I was like, well, I guess I'll make another one next month. And then, well, I guess I'll read Heir to the Empire and make another one next month. And then here we are, 18 issues later, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there other things that you're doing outside of the zine that kind of allow you to strengthen that skill set and motivate you even more? Like, what's some of your background in like developing the skills that you needed? I mean, in terms of like the creative mindset too, because I feel like you really have to have an eye for this stuff. You know, it's not something you can just like really jump into and that anybody can take up. I mean, certainly people can try, but clearly been very successful at it and are continuing to do it.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I don't, as far as like a work, like a job, I don't have one right now. I lost it in June because of the madness. And well, I was, I left in March and then was laid off in June, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like kind of, I'm in this weird in between place right now where I'm kind of making this my job, even though I don't really know how sustainable that's going to be, but in the past, I've mostly worked retail, but a lot of what I've done is what do they call it? Visual merchandising. So it's like designing displays and stuff. I worked at a store in New York called The Strand for several years and was on the visual merchandising team. And that was a lot of laying things out. And I think that in a weird way does kind of translate to the zine because it's so small and you don't realize how small it is until you're like putting it together. And so it's just it's a pain sometimes. I just wish I could make every issue like 50 pages. But like, so you do have to kind of have like a layout brain. So I think in like some way that has helped. And yeah, I mean, I've been keeping little scraps of paper since I was like 12. So I've just always been doing that. And that's a big part of the collage and the zine stuff. But I don't really have any like practical experience, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
except for just like going for it, basically.
Yeah, no, sometimes that's all you can do is just give it the good old try. And I don't think
Honestly, yeah.
I think the great thing about creation is you don't necessarily like need the experience. You just need the mindset or the passion for it, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this podcast. It's not my full-time thing. I wish it were, but I also
Of
have
course.
zero experience in podcasting. I just decided one day to buy a microphone and start talking nonsense and hope people would download it and listen for more than 35 seconds. But the fact that we keep coming back to do these passion projects of ours is, I think, that is, the practice makes perfect, as cliche as it sounds. It's true, right? I mean, you keep doing it and doing it and doing it, and you constantly critique yourself for better or worse, and you strive to do better. And creation is exhausting, but it's also like the most rewarding thing I've ever done, and I'm sure that you've
For
probably ever
sure.
done as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I also have experience directing theater. It's like a past life, it feels like at this point. But that was also a lot of like at this point with the zine, because it has grown a little, substantially, I guess. Like there is so much time management involved. So I think that those skills did help with the time management part at
Mm,
least. I
yep.
do still struggle with it sometimes, but it's helpful. It is connected in that way.
Hmm. Zines and collage making. Zines definitely have like a very long, storied history. There's been so many things around them. They've had
Mm,
different phases. There's been different like time periods for the zines where they've kind of had these like different cultural phenomenon around them, whether it was
yeah.
like the Star Trek zine and in like the late 60s, which I learned apparently that Star Trek, when it was going to be canceled after 2 seasons, fans used the Star Trek fanzine, which Leonard Nimoy was writing letters in character. They used that fanzine to bring it back for one more season, and
Hmm.
just stuff like that. Seeing that history, how rich it is,
Amazing.
and how like how rooted it is in just fandom, and how fans have been able to influence the things that they love. What do you see as the lasting importance of like fanzines and collage making, just in this particular area?
Mhm.
What do you feel like it kind of represents for you and its importance, and even like a historical aspect of these things that we create for?
Yeah, for sure. I learned a lot about Star Wars fanzine history, because I did some art for the episode of Looking for Leia that was all about fanzines. And I'm so thankful for that experience. Also, Blast Points podcast has a really good episode about fanzine history that they kind of got some of that from the Looking for Leia episode as well. But yeah, I think the coolest thing about it historically is like because there was no internet, because there was no email, because there was no blogs, that was the way that they talked about fan theories. That's the way they talked about like when Yoda says there is another, that's how they were talking about who the other could be. And it's
Hmm.
like it's so cool to look back and see that. And I do think that that's still, even with blogs and YouTube channels and podcasts and blah 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 blah, I do still get that same feeling when people submit stuff to the zine, that it's like still communicating how you feel about something or your opinion about something or something that you really love. And I think that's the community is like the coolest part. And also like, I don't know, I feel so connected with everyone that I send the zine to. And I feel so connected with everyone that's written something for the zine. And like, it's that whole community thing. And it kind of like taking it and putting it on paper kind of like takes it backwards in a way, but it still feels as connected as if I had a YouTube channel or a podcast or whatever, where I was like more directly digitally interacting, I guess. Um, but yeah, it's really cool to see the way that they helped people express their fandom in the past and how that does still kind of stay.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's wild. And it's wild that they've been around like since May of 1977. Like there has been fanzines for Star Wars like since then, which is just like so cool.
I feel people have an attachment to older things. That's why we still buy vinyls when you can literally get
Mm,
any piece of music you want for free on Spotify.
right.
Like, why would you ever buy
That's
a
so
vinyl?
true.
But there's an aspect to it that is like almost like just this tangible feeling of you owning something, or like a certain point in history, or a certain piece of art or media being immortalized almost, right? So like
Mm,
those old fanzines and those old, like if you have some of those old fanzines where people are speculating, is Luke
so
really
cool.
Darth Vader's son, and like people are actually debating those points, like those discussions are like immortalized forever in that
Yes.
fanzine. And much like what you're doing, with like the recent one you had, like a Mando chapter 2 or chapter 1, sorry, you had a Mando chapter 9.
Yeah.
Keep losing track where we are. You had a reaction to that and you were writing it down, and like, what does it all mean? How did they go there at the end? That's crazy. And in a way, it's like that moment in time is captured forever at that point. Whereas things like social media aren't necessarily forever. Those websites can shut down. Your tweets
Mm,
get buried in the plethora of things that are being talked about, and it's very easy to
Totally.
lose sight of those things. But fanzines really were, it was almost like Star Wars Twitter before Star Wars Twitter, before all the bots and all of the mean people and and all that stuff that comes with it. That's not so great, but really keeping a more isolated community of people that want to maybe just get the fanzine perspective of Star Wars and stick with that, the more
Yeah,
pure side.
totally. And it's true. Like if you look back at issue 6, which I think was October, which was like, or November, whatever. To the one that was the Mandalorian survival guide for season 1, the zine I made last year. That's a pre-Baby Yoda world. Like, and it's
Yeah.
so weird to look back at it and to be like, well, I don't know what I was even saying. Like, this is gonna be a cool show, but like, like just there, you have no idea, And then it's also weird to look back, like the September issue I made last year in 2019. That's like my first issue that I feel like was more similar to the ones I make now. So like that was the one that was all about Kylo Ren. And I have a whole page where I'm speculating about episode 9, and that's a very strange experience to look back on that now. But it is very much very frozen in time. And when I still send out those issues, and when I print them now to send to people, I'm like, oh God, well, yeah, enjoy, I guess.
That's a great example, actually, like a pre-Baby Yoda world. That is
Right?
truly like the just like capture it in a bottle and like cherish it forever, right? Because
Right?
the like, where were you? I want to ask you this now that you bring it up. Where were you when you first saw Baby Yoda? What was just going through your mind? Because I feel like it was just a complete state of shock for everybody. And obviously, there's more to the Star Wars universe than Baby Yoda, but truly he is
Of
like the
course.
phenomenon of this franchise right now. And I think just surprised people so pleasantly.
Oh yeah. I mean, I woke up super early that morning to watch episode 1. And I think I that other people share this sentiment, but I kind of thought that the show might be like, a big badass dude does badass things, kicks a lot of butt. I don't like a lot of, like, not even concerning Star Wars, but just in like movies and stuff. I'm not a huge fan of like a lot of violence. I just am not personally, like, I just don't like it. It's not like I'm morally against it or anything. I just don't like it. I don't know. So I kind of was afraid it would be a lot of that. Like, I didn't know what to expect. But then to see, like, as soon as I don't even remember what I thought, because I don't do spoilers. I don't do like any of that stuff. So I was just like, what is that? What is that? And then when he shoots the IG-11 so that he doesn't shoot him, he's like, it's like, what do you mean? Like that, yeah, it was
Yeah.
just a lot.
I'm with you too. I'm not like the biggest fan of violence. I think maybe the closest thing I get to that is with the John Wick movie. But even then, it's layered with this like super soft guy who loves dogs.
Right. Exactly.
And like, who can't relate to wanting to like take revenge on people who get rid of your pet? Like we all can relate to that. If somebody touched my dog,
sure.
I would hunt them to the ends of the earth. Likewise, Din Djarin, anybody touches Baby Yoda, he will go to the ends of the earth to, hunt them down and show them who's boss, right? And he even said that in the most recent episode. He's like, if you do anything to that child, one scratch, there's nowhere I won't find you, right? And I was like, oh God, okay, Din.
Wow.
Like, intense, right? I do really have an appreciation for media that defies your expectations like that. I thought the same thing going into Mandalorian, but really it's just about an old hardened warrior who never had a childhood trying to raise a child and almost like reclaim his own youth.
Oh yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's so much more layered than and it continues to be even every week now. It's like so much more layered than I expected it to be last November. It really continues to impress me. And I love that it's not we don't have to do a Mando breakdown right now, but I love that it keeps doing kind of like the opposite of what we think it's going to do. And
Yep.
even like in the like, we broke down that trailer to death, and none of it really, as of now, none of it really means anything. I think that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't make me mad. I think it's so fun.
Yeah. Hey, is that going to be Ilum? It's not Ilum.
It's really not. And then like,
It's
oh,
like
this planet with all the graffiti on it. Like, what if it's Lothal or so? It's like, no, it's just a planet.
I was
It's
convinced the
great.
boat planet is Camino. Man, the clown mask came on so quickly when I found out it wasn't Camino. I was so sad.
Oh, yeah, it's great. I love it.
So your character collages are like my favorite thing. At some point, I'm gonna have to report you to the police because you just keep taking my money, and it's unfair. But I'm happy to oblige, truly. But your character collages are just so fun. You are starting to delve into like real creators. Like, you know, you did the Dave Filoni print, you did the Talking Bay 94 stuff with Rick and George, and Ben Burt was on there, and John Knoll.
Yep.
So you were doing some pretty cool stuff there. But what is your favorite part of doing the character collages? And also, what is your approach to when you get a commission or you get an idea for somebody to include on there? Like, how do you navigate that to make it, you know, so different from what's come before?
It's hard. Sometimes like, especially every time I open commissions, I'm always a little bit afraid that everybody's going to ask for Ben Solo or everybody's going to ask for the same thing. And like, not that that would be the worst thing in the world, but it's like, it is really hard to collage the same character more than once.
Mm-hmm.
So like, but every single time I open commissions, everybody just has the coolest ideas. Like, and I don't even like urge them along or anything. Everybody just comes with like these awesome ideas. It's like so much fun without fail every time. But yeah, it's been one of my favorite things. I've started to do it more and more, although I really have done it since the beginning of like kind of trying to put something of the character into every collage, you know, even just a little bit. So usually like if I get a character, like I'm trying to think of an example that I did recently. So like I did there's a new one that was really different because it was an action scene. So it wasn't just like a character from the chest up, like standing still, which I've done so many of those, which I love. I love that. But it was like it's the actual Duel of the Fates battle of Darth Maul and versus Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon when they're still like right before they go into the thing with the thing. Yeah.
May he rest in peace, Qui-Gon, my boy.
R.I.P. I love him so much. Yeah. So I did like Sophia, who commissioned me for it, she asked for that. She was like, I kind of want that scene. And I was like, how the heck do you do that? And like I almost wanted to say no, but I found this picture that's like a really good shot of like all three of them clashing sabers. And then so I found it and it worked and the size worked and the quality was good. So the next thing that I do is I kind of decide like a color scheme, I guess. I don't ever want it to be like too obvious. Like I didn't want to do like blue on Qui-Gon's side and blue on Obi-Wan's side and red in Darth Maul's center, you know, because that's kind of like kind of obvious. So I leaned towards like, I think of when I do usually like a dark side or Sith character, I do think of red, but I also think of metal. I think of like what it looks like on the Death Star, like, or I think of like for I've used the same, actually part of the same exact page from a magazine in two different Maul pieces because it was like a picture of a bunch of elk in a river or something. So it was a lot of just like antlers and it was like this really weird like gray smoky color. So I love like that kind of thing. Like I did an Anakin piece once where I used part of a snake and it's like not so much that he's the snake, but I think of like Garden of Eden, the snake is like the
temptation,
evil.
yeah.
Exactly. So and then I actually put some of the same snake in another Ben Solo piece I did. So it was like, yeah. I also love connecting pieces. I'm like,
Yeah, it's all connected.
I have to keep myself from doing it too often because I love it. So yeah, so I usually think of like a color scheme and then I have just like this absolute disaster mess of clippings So I'll just like just go through it all, which is, it takes so long, but I just go through it all and pick out everything that I think would work. And then I just start like moving it around. And sometimes it comes like really fast. And like recently I did one of Ben Kenobi, like Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan, and it was like boom, 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 10 seconds. I was like, oh, great. But then I will do one like this one. It's a spoiler alert. I have a really, really crazy looking Ray piece that I'm gonna post like probably tomorrow. That it's like one of the biggest pieces I've ever done. And that one was really hard. It was just like, it was hard to figure out because I'm really like spoiler alerting, but it's like I made the blade of the saber with paper, and that's
Whoa.
it's cool, but it's also like really hard and nerve-wracking, and I still like am not convinced that it that it's perfect, but it's okay, it's good. But I did like there's like a blue sky and lots of flowers, and that one like just took a really long time. I had to like reposition it a million times. I had to make the size work. So yeah, so it's always a process, and sometimes it's really smooth, and then sometimes it's like I'm not gonna get it. I have to walk away from it for like 5 hours and come back.
Hmm.
But yeah, I like the color idea. I do like to think of the character and what they're like and what their life is like. I try.
Yeah. I don't think it truly hit me how you put those together until we were doing the commission for this series, and you sent me a picture that
Oh
was a
yeah.
bit zoomed out of it was like all the different pieces, but it was going off the typical square portion of it. It was like all these giant pieces of different images that were kind of sandwiched in there, and I was like, whoa. I was like, that is, you're seeing how the meat is made, and that kind of blew my mind. And I was like, it is tough, to make all those different pieces fit together and to find the right tone and style and color palette for it. But how do you feel that this has allowed you to engage with Star Wars differently, right? Like, has
Mm.
it heightened your appreciation for the story? Has it kind of allowed you to think of different concepts and different characters in a new light? How would
Mm.
your life be different without being able to engage with Star Wars through this medium?
Oh, I mean, how would my life be different? It would, I can't even comprehend, especially with how this year has been, like being able and losing my job and everything, like being able to have the deadline of the zine to meet every month is just, it's absolutely saved my life, like no question. But as far as like how it's changed how I think about it just like, I don't even know. It's so hard to say because sometimes I'll think like I'll get super uninspired and then I'll be like, I have to watch Return of the Jedi right now and just like get my brain. Or I've also like really fallen for behind the scenes and making of stuff, like you were saying with the prequels, like the beginning, the Phantom Menace documentary. Oh my God, I could watch it every day. It's
Yeah.
just it's just so good. But I think it does make me think of everything a little bit deeper, I guess. And also I'll look at things that I want to write about in the zine. Like I did a spread a few months ago with Travis from Force Time about headcanon, and that's like I could talk about headcanon all day. It's like one of my favorite things. But yeah, so I definitely didn't think of things that way, the way I do now. Um, it reminds me of like way before, like, oh my God, in like 2016, I talk about this all the time, but I started watching like the Jar Jar is Darth Snoke like theory videos. And that was like, let's not go there, but
Oh.
that was like my first exposure to that kind of madness. And instead of being like, this is stupid, I should turn it off, I would just be like, I want to watch it. Like I remember I sent a link to my friend. I sent a link to one of the videos to my friend and I was like, you should really watch this. And he didn't even click it. He just said, this is 8 minutes. Like I'm not watching. So I definitely like, I started with that, but then having a place to like put it all has been really fun. And then also
Hmm.
just meeting people and seeing what they write. Like especially this month, there's a lot of contributions from people that has been like so fun. And then also, like, I sent out a survey to subscribers and asked for ideas, and people have the coolest ideas that I would have never thought of on my own.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah.
I can't believe I've almost blocked out the Jar Jar Plagueis Sith Lord theories, but what a time, right?
What a time.
What a time that was for the Star Wars fandom. Yeah, there were so many breakdown videos, but no, that is great to hear, and I think with creation comes the new perspective, right? And
For
for
sure.
me, like doing podcasting, I think of Star Wars in a completely different way. As you've said, you think of Star Wars differently and on a deeper level, right? It's not just going
Yeah.
with the green and the blue and the red for the Darth Maul piece and the Duel of the Fates piece on a very
Right.
on a very base level, but really thinking below. And it's like, oh, I can put a snake in there because the temptation and all those little granular details that add up for the larger picture, and
Yeah,
really heightens the way and accelerates the way that you look at the many concepts in Star Wars.
totally.
So for you, I want to know, obviously the future is so uncertain, but what
Mm,
is kind of your larger, your fanzine's called Into a Larger World. So what is
right.
your larger world, right? Like what is something that you dream of doing with the fanzine? And it's okay if you don't want to give spoilers or whatnot, but where do you want to take this, and what excites you about the future with what you do?
Yeah. As far as the zine, I just want to keep doing it. That's all that I think about as far as that goes, is I just want to keep making it, especially in like these, how do they say it in like car commercials right now? They're like, now more than ever. You know what I mean? So now more than ever, I love being able to send out something happy to people every month. Like, what's better than that? So that's as far as I go with the zine, is like, I just want to keep making it. I want to keep having people write cool stuff, and like just keep having fun with it and keep pushing the boundaries. I dream about doing a lot more character deep dive issues. I would love to interview more people, obviously. But yes, as far as the zine goes, that's kind of how I look at it. But as like, I mean, I should speak it into existence. It's not like a birthday wish where it's like if you tell someone it won't come true. But like my absolute dream would be to make some official art for Lucasfilm, for them to be like, hey, do you want to make a thing for this thing? And then just make like a collage of some weirdness. I don't know. That's the
Mhm.
dream. I mean, just even the small, like something small, I would pack it up right there. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Maybe you can get your giant character collage as a 2022 celebration piece.
Oh God.
An
I'm gonna,
artist
yeah,
gallery.
because that's the thing, is like, I don't know that, I know that there are like licensed artists and stuff, but I feel like there's a weird, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but like I feel like there's a weird thing with collage art where I don't know that it's seen as art in the same way as painting or drawing is. And I don't know that it should, because God knows anyone who paints or draws, I'm like in total awe of. But so it's like very different. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's definitely like the ultimate. But besides that, I just want to keep doing it. Just keep going.
I like to wrap up the show with a couple rapid fire questions just to
Okay.
get to know you even a little bit more before we close out. So my first question is, what is your favorite Star Wars film?
Return of the Jedi.
Lots of Yub
Definitely.
Nub. There's been lots of Yub Nub was trending
Oh
this
my
weekend.
God.
I think
I
if you
couldn't
look at
believe it.
the Google Analytics, it was like dormant for just 30 years, and then all of a sudden, a huge skyrocket of Yub Nub.
Amazing.
Truly a redeeming quality of 2020. Who is your favorite Star Wars character?
Oh, that's hard. My head says Luke. I think I gotta say Luke.
Yeah, the
It
lone
just
farm boy, just looking
just
for adventure.
the whole arc is just, it's just, yeah, it's just so good. It's just so good, and it's why I like Return of the Jedi so much.
Yeah,
I just Luke.
that is
Luke.
one of Luke's shining moments, right? Throw down your weapon, save your family. Like, what a
Come
great
on.
lesson.
And what a good outfit too.
Oh yeah.
All
Iconic.
black, love it.
So you mentioned headcanon earlier, and you could go on and on for headcanon. And I say
I
these are
could.
rapid fire questions, but if you want to elaborate, feel free. What is
Thank
your
you.
favorite, one of your favorite headcanons for Star Wars?
It's tricky. So I talked about like three different ones when because we did a zine spread slash podcast episode like pair up, and I talked about three different ones, but I think, oh, it's hard because now I'm like afraid because one of them is Boba Fett, but I'm like, I don't think that I can have headcanon about Boba Fett right now because things are happening. So I think my main favorite one is that Shmi Skywalker is in some way connected to the Force. Maybe
Mm,
not in the same way that like a Jedi would be, but I think that she has Force abilities of some kind, like maybe not levitating stuff or whatever, but I think she's aware of the Force in a way that maybe even she doesn't understand. But like if you look at this one visual dictionary, it says I think it's the Phantom Menace visual dictionary. It says Shmi knows when Anakin is near, even when she can't see him, or something. It has like a little line like that, and I was like, really?
oh,
I know. So yeah, I think yeah, I'll send you a picture of it after this. But yeah, so Shmi and just Shmi all day. I want more of her. I love her so much.
you're speaking my language. Shmi
Right?
Skywalker is one of my favorites.
Ugh,
I think we do need like something with her. I would love a book, honestly, of Shmi
yes.
Skywalker. I think that would actually be really popular with fans.
Oh
But
yeah.
I totally agree. That's a great headcanon, and I will now join you in that. Like
Thank you.
Qui-Gon, you hear that he's force sensitive, and your first question is, who was his father? Listen, the force sensitive parent is standing right in front of you, sir. How was
I also think
sumptuous
that
of you.
I also feel like they maybe had like a weird connection in some way,
Mm,
but maybe that's just a ship that I have.
you know, maybe in another universe,
Who
Qui-Gon
knows?
lives and returns to save Shmi, and they live happily ever after. Somebody write that fic so I can cry myself to sleep every night.
Yes. Type, 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 type.
What is your favorite Star Wars moment?
This is, I don't know why this is so easy for me, but it just is. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna go with this one. I'm second guessing myself, but I'm not going to. My favorite moment is in Return of the Jedi when Luke comes back to where they all are, and uh, he hugs Leia, and she says, "What's wrong?" and or something like that, and then he says, "Ask me again sometime." It's my favorite.
Mm,
It's my favorite. I don't know why. I love it. I think that in that moment she knew that he was her brother, even though it's before he tells her. And I also think that is I think it's a force thing. Like I think that she could feel that something was wrong. And I think that she was like, because obviously she feels the force when they're rescuing Luke in Empire and he calls out to her and she hears him, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's like a subtle force moment or something, but it also like is just such a brother sister thing. And like I have a really good relationship with my brother and I love my brother. So like, I don't know. I love that moment so much. And I named a zine
yeah,
after it, issue 5. It's on the cover. I love it.
love that. Yeah, Return of the Jedi is really good. It
God,
really
it's so
is.
good.
So many
Ugh.
good moments. What are you most excited for with Star Wars right now? There's a lot of publishing happening. There's a lot of TV happening. Movies is kind of still up in the air. But what, like, if you could just rub the genie lamp and get everything right now, or get one thing that you wanted like right this second to watch or read or whatever, what would it be?
Hmm. I'm I'm interested with what they'll do with the Cassian show. I think that's going to be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And and I think so that's the first thing that comes to mind. And then yeah, Kenobi. Those two. I'm also just really excited for Celebration though. I know that doesn't really count, but I just want to be there now. I'm really excited. So that's like when I think about like what am I excited for with Star Wars, it would be just to go to Celebration and meet everybody. And I'm just putting all my positive energy towards that being a thing. It's
Yep.
far enough away that, who knows.
Well,
Ugh.
always a fun opportunity to meet all of your internet friends in
Right?
real life. It's magical. And being in the fandom post Celebration Chicago, I'm excited for that as well. Because all my friends
Totally.
now are just online. I'm like, I need to meet all of you in person. COVID is COVID has lasted too long.
Exactly.
Let's all do like a group hug for like
Ugh.
35 minutes straight. It's great. I'm fine with it. And my last question for you is, what does Star Wars mean to you? It's a
Whoa.
loaded one.
Yeah.
I cheat when I say rapid fire questions. These are all at least worth 45-minute discussions.
I'm thinking, what does it mean? Oh, you know what I just thought of is like the thought that came to my mind was like your journey matters, you know? Like the journey that you go through in life has like a purpose. I don't know why. That makes me think of Star Wars, is like each character's journey, and then like seeing yourself in that is really special.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's what came to my mind, is like the journey of your life and like becoming who you are. That's what I think of. That doesn't really make, that's not coherent.
No, that makes that makes sense completely. No, I understand exactly what you're saying. Yeah. No, it's true, right? Because you see so much growth among all the different characters, and it kind of makes us feel a little bit okay about our own journeys, because we relate to those characters and we see what they go through, and they're like, oh, it ends up okay for most of them.
Right.
You know, we see what they go through. We see the struggles they have, the struggles that we carry as well. And we see that at the end of the day, things aren't so bad and it'll be okay.
Yeah. And it's like what makes you who you are. And like, it's enough to just be like a good person, like to be a good person, like matters, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be nice and love people. Isn't that what George said? Something along those lines.
Something like that. Yeah. Faster and more intense.
Well, Kara, thank you so much for coming on Friends of the Force. It was such a pleasure to finally have you. You're always welcome back. Where can our listeners find you online? What do you got coming up? And yeah, anything else we should know about you before you head off?
Yeah, so I am pretty much only on Instagram. Currently not in the Twitter sphere. I'm pretty sure it'll stay that way. Who knows? But
definitely
my Instagram is thank you. I feel like I've made a good choice. So my Instagram is Sacred Something by Kara with a K, Sacred Something by Kara, and I have one more issue coming out this year. December is issue 19, which also means January will be issue 20, which is crazy. And I'm really excited about that. And on Thursday, November 12th, I don't know when this is going up, but on Thursday the 12th is when all of my holiday gift shops are opening. I have a bunch of different zine bundles available. I'm going to start offering 2021 subscriptions if you wanted to gift one to someone. I also have a bunch of new limited edition prints, including the one I just spoiled, which I'll probably post tomorrow, and a bunch of my character collage library and mini prints and just a bunch of stuff if you are looking for like a cool gift for a Star Wars friend or for yourself. And if you want to write something for the zine, or if you have fan art and you want to send it to me for next year or something, email me sacredsomethingbyKara@gmail.com or hit me up on Instagram. I would love that. And yeah, I think that's, oh, and I have a Patreon, you know, if you want to look at that. So yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. Lots of exciting stuff coming up. And once again, thank you for joining Friends of the Force. Such a pleasure to have you. And until next time, may the Force be with you. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to our interview with Kara. Such a pleasure to have on the show. Make sure wherever you're listening to this podcast to leave us a 5-star rating and review. It helps invite other people into the discussion and find our podcast. Speaking of finding our podcast, you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you want to support the show and help us continue putting out content on a consistent basis, we have a Patreon at patreon.com/Friends of the Force. Thank you to our current patrons who make the show possible: Anna, Cheryl, Christina, Deborah, Donnie, Elegy, Jessica, Marie Claire, Marvin, Neil, Rachel, Sarah, and T. So that is it for this episode. Stay tuned for plenty more interviews coming up soon on the podcast, as well as a couple of discussion episodes. November is a big month for Friends of the Force, and I'm so excited to have you along for the journey. So that is all, and until next time, everybody, may the Force be with you always.
Friends of the Force is a proud member of the Star Wars Escape Pods network. To learn more about our sister shows, find us on Twitter at We Are Escape Pods. The Star Wars Escape Pods network, promoting positivity in fandom.